Good morning, everyone. My name is Jan Vandermortel. I'm an international chess master from Storrs, Connecticut, and I'm joining you this morning to give live commentary on the Hartford Public Library chess tournament that's being held every Sunday morning. They just started playing, and in our first game, we have Nighttime 03 against Jesian G. Let's see, who are these players? Michael is Nighttime and Jesian is playing with White. They are actually our tournament winners from the previous weeks. I think Michael won 2 weeks ago and Jesian last week. So there's a very interesting first round pairing. These players are fairly new to the game of chess. Some of them just learned how to play a few weeks ago. They've had quite a few chess classes already by Sean Parker, one of Team Dig USA's chess coaches, and also by me. When I'm looking at these games, I'm going to look especially at how they attack and defend their pieces, especially when you're just a beginning chess player. It is important to try to keep as many of your pieces alive, or when you lose them, you get the same number of value pieces back. So in this game, I think Michael looks like he got off to a good start. He just captured a rook on this a6 square, and he appears to be up by a rook at this moment. He's also castled his king. His king is now safely tucked away behind this shield of pawns. And Black's king is a little bit exposed. I see this diagonal, which is completely open, where he might be able to get checked. I see the king is in the same file as the white queen, which is always dangerous. There's only one pawn, still providing some protection from the white queen. I think if Michael is going to try to get more pieces into the action, he would be in good shape. His last move is doing exactly that. He's getting his knight involved. It's checking the king. The king has to go. He's running back to this e8 square. Maybe he can bring in the other knight to attack this bishop. Another move I like is pushing the pawn up, protected by the knight, and trying to hit this pawn next to the king. They are playing 10-minute games, and they play 3 rounds. After 3 rounds, there will be a semi-final and a final. Today, I think we will be having 8 players battling it out. I think this game is going very well for White so far, but Black now has finally moved this pawn up, so the bishop gets an open diagonal, and he might be in a fairly safe situation now, as long as he doesn't lose his queen. The knight is protecting the bishop, so either block, maybe move this queen to attack this knight, move it up, it's fine too. Let's see if there's any other games already started. And I do see another game. This is a game between Chess Club Junior and the True Prophet. The game has just started. So far it's looking like a pretty good game. Both players are playing for the center. They have center pawns in the middle. Black has developed 3 pieces. 2 knights and a bishop. White has developed 2 knights. He just pushed his pawn and opened up the diagonal. So I'm guessing he might be looking to take that knight. That's a pretty interesting move. The knight moves away. What is he going to do? What happens if the knight gets attacked? What will he do? Run back? Protect? Not sure. I think Black's position looks pretty good, but so does White's. They're also taking their time. They've only played 7 moves, and they've already used almost a minute and a half each. With 10 minutes, you can use your time in the beginning of the game. But once you get down about 1 or 2 minutes, it gets pretty difficult. I actually really like White's last move to try to get the knight to a better square, but I think he might be trying to attack this knight. I'm also a little bit nervous about this square on c2. If that bishop opens up, then this knight could jump there and fork king and rook. So I don't know if black has a good move with this knight. Maybe, oh, that's a very interesting move. He's setting up a discovery on the white king. So now he's threatening all kinds of things with this knight. Okay, white blocked the diagonal, so there's no more discovered check with the knight. But if he moves this knight away, there he goes. He's trapping the queen. That's a great move. The queen has no more escape square because everything has been guarded. So I really like how black just used all 4 pieces to go after white's king and queen. Now he might even get another knight into a good position with forking the king and rook. Yep, there he goes. I'm afraid for chess club's chances here. David is playing extremely well. Maybe the queen can come in to attack the bishop. Alright, he is taking a pawn. That's pretty good as well. Okay, let's see if there's any other games going. Yes. Here we have Jason with white against Willow Reap. I'm not sure if I know Willow Reap. I'm not sure if he's in the tournament. Maybe he is. I'm guessing he is, because otherwise I don't think they would be playing. And this game already is over. It might not have been a tournament game. So let's see. Let's go back to the game between Nighttime and Jazian, where I'm seeing a mate in 1 threat. Well, not exactly. Black can still block with his queen, but okay, now it's mate in 1. The king has no escape squares. The pawn, there you go. He found it. A very good game. We'll take a quick look again after all the games are done. Alright, so Chess Club Junior did lose his queen. He lost his rook. Black has cleaned up almost the whole left side of the board. But he did head his king into a safer spot. If black would now move this bishop in and target the knight, that knight would also be lost. So if that move happens, I believe white will face further troubles with his king. Alright, he takes the pawn, continues to Pac-Man the whole queen side of the board. The queen side of the board is sort of the side where the queens are. So the board can be split up in 2 halves, queen side and king side. And white's queen side has been almost completely eliminated. Now I think he's probably going to try to get his knight in and go after white's knight on f1. He doesn't see it just yet, but I have no doubt black is going to win this game. He's playing extremely well so far, taking every opportunity he can, and white is just running out of pieces to play with. Alright, let's see if there's another game. Jason is playing again, but I'm not sure if he is playing a tournament game, as I don't know who I actually do know who Chris P is. I had him yesterday in my chess class, and he seemed very interested in the game of chess. Had a lot of good questions, was taking notes. So I'm actually quite curious to see how he plays. This is the first time I see him play a game. And he's playing against Jason, who has been in the chess class for, I think, the beginning, maybe 3 weeks now. and has quite impressed me so far. Um, Yesterday we looked a lot at attack and defense, aiming at pieces, and when one of your pieces gets aimed at or attacked, to defend those pieces. And so far it's looking pretty good. White just attacked the knight, and the knight defended by moving away, and at the same time the knight is attacking the bishop, so now white has to defend the bishop. He does something else. He suddenly jumps in with his knight to take a pawn that has a lot of defenders, and Chris backed away from taking the knight. I think he could have safely taken that knight, and now there are some issues with black's queen. So I think they are both playing a little bit fast. Chess is maybe doesn't look like that a very easy game, and it's not really easy, but it's also not that difficult to learn. The key is that you just play a lot. If you want to become a better chess player, you just have to play a lot of games and pretty much learn the patterns of how the pieces move, and the patterns of the chessboard itself, and how they all connect. For example, this rook is now protecting this bishop, and now it's no longer protecting this bishop, so the black king could take that bishop. Okay, he moved his pawn out. He might be trying to get his rook into the game, but his king is looking a little exposed here. There's not that many pieces helping him anymore. I'm guessing this rook might move up to check if he spots the rook is under attack. He probably did not. And now let's see if black sees that he can take this rook. He did not. He moved his king out. Check. Now the king needs to defend against a check. He could maybe block or run away. Pawn to d4. A lot of pieces are under attack, and this time he did see that the pawn could be taken, but the bishop comes out and check again. So now what we can do, we can block, or we can move away. We can also block with the bishop, but he moved away. Right now there's not a good check in the position. If the queen tries it, it will get taken. If the bishop tries it, it can get taken. I would move the rook up and line up on this 8th rank with the rook. This is not a bad move. He's trying to get rid of this bishop, which he's probably going to do right now. Or maybe he just spotted that the rook is under attack. No, he took the bishop. I think Chris is maybe looking to try to attack this pawn with his bishop as well. Let's see if he finds a move like bishop h3. I'm not very hopeful for his chances, but there's still a little bit of pressure on this g2 pawn that's next to the king. I'm still waiting for this rook h8 move. Oh, queen e5, attacking the bishop, which I'm pretty sure he wants to take. Once he takes the bishop, there's another double attack on the queen and the rook. The rook moves away. I'm expecting white is going to take this bishop now. There it goes, and I think the black king is going to be running out of steam very soon. If white manages to use a couple of pieces in the attack, for example, if he manages to find this move, bishop f6, that will be checkmate. Bishop f6, mate in 1. Not bad, he takes the pawn. Alright, black gets a check. White escapes. Now, there's a whole bunch of checks that would finish this game. Let's see if white will find one of them. Is anyone else playing? Not at this moment. So this is the only game going on. Actually, white found a pretty decent move. Is there a mate in one? Not yet, because the rook can come back and block. Well, he has no other move, so as long as he has time, he can try to find it. He's probably trying to figure out, what do I do now? How can I get out of check? And there he goes. Now white could take the rook, would not be a bad move. The king would take back, and then he has a mate in one with the queen and the bishop lining up on this e8 square. Let's see if... Right, I actually like this idea as well. I think he wants to come in on this diagonal next. Alright, good move by black, and there he comes. Now black can either block or move the king away. He should probably block, although the knight could get taken again. And now I see another mate in one. Maybe the next turn, let's see. I don't see any good moves for black anymore. He's down to just a few pawns and a knight. And white has a queen and two bishops close to the king. And if white finds this queen takes knight move, it will end the game. There it goes. Okay, pretty good showing by Jason. This is Chris's first tournament game. It's a pretty good start for his first tournament game. He still has 5.5 minutes on the clock. Usually if I lose a game and I noticed I still have a lot of time on my clock left, it probably means I played too fast somewhere along the way. Basically, the longer you think, the more you will see, and the shorter you think, the less you will see. Now my own favorite time control is game in 1 minute, which means we get 1 minute to finish the whole game, and there's basically no time to think. All you can do is make moves. It's a bit of an addictive game. I've played it for many decades already, and I just have to play some of these bullet games every single day. For these guys, I would say they should not really be doing that yet. As you get better, you probably might develop a liking for very quick games, but for now it would be good to try to see as much as you can in the time you have. There are no other tournament games going on right now, or there is. I see a new game. Let's see. Who is playing here? Davian against Javius. Javius, if I remember correctly, won the tournament last week, so he has some experience already. Davian, I think, just joined the chess club, and let's see how he does. He did find a very good move. White was checking the king, and the queen was behind it, and black blocked the check and chased the bishop. So this pawn is now pinned by the bishop to the king, and it cannot take the knight. If he would take the knight, his king would be in check, so he's not allowed to do that. Instead, he moved his king back, a move I actually quite like, because now this pawn still shouldn't move because it's still pinned, but now to the queen. But this king shouldn't be too far up the board. I also really like Javius' next move. He already moves the knight away from the attack, even though it wasn't really threatened yet. But it would have to go pretty soon anyway. Black develops a bishop, attacks his pawn, and white moves in to attack the bishop and the pawn on b7. So this is a double attack. Now black does have a pretty decent move. He could take the knight off the board. Otherwise it's not that easy, because if he wants to protect both these at the same time, he would either have to use his queen, or we'd have to completely bring back the bishop. Alright, he finds the move. Very good. He took out the knight and white recaptured. The game is still pretty balanced. White is up one pawn or 1 point. And that is usually enough for a very strong player to win the game. But in this game, I think it's going to be fairly meaningless, because there's still a lot going to happen. There we have another pawn trade. And I like how Davian plays. I didn't like this king up the board, but he brought the king back. And now he is developing pieces. He's capturing a pawn and a knight that were threatening things. By g3. I usually like this move because that allows this bishop to move to the longest diagonal on the board. But this g3 move did take away the escape square for the other bishop, and now Davian just found a very nice trapping move. So this pawn is trapping this bishop, attacking it. The pawn is protected by this pawn as well as the queen. So white really has no way to save his bishop now. He is going to lose those 3 points. He should try to get at least 1 point back for it, and he does. He captures the pawn and black takes back. So now black is up a little bit in material. He has a knight for 2 pawns. White continued his idea to put the bishop there. This bishop is very safe. It's hiding behind these 3 pawns, but it's also very dangerous on this long diagonal. And now he followed it up by castling, and it's the first time I've seen JVS do this. Bishop alert, and there it goes. Alright, this is turning out to be a pretty interesting game. Last week I discussed for the first time how I usually like to put my pieces in the beginning. And one of the things I told him is that I like to put this bishop on this g2 square, and these pawns like a little triangle, and I put my king behind it. And it's the first time I see JVS do this, and so far it's looking pretty good. He managed to get this rook. Now if I'm white, I would like to get this bishop all the way back and again be in front of my king, and sort of, abide his time to see if another black piece would like to come to this diagonal. I also like his last move and this one. He's moving this pawn out, and he's opening up more space for his pieces. Rook e2. Okay, I think maybe he wants to get this rook there. Yep, there he goes. And now he's lining up on the d4. That might have been a mouse slip. I don't know. That move seems a bit out of character. Because I think he probably did see what white was doing, and now black has a big problem. There's a skewer. The rook is attacking the king and the queen is behind it. So if the king moves away, the queen will take the rook. So he did find the only move. Very good. He had to put his bishop there, which can get taken, to save his king. Now if he also finds, almost, it was not easy, but he needed to get this pawn up so that this queen and rook would stay behind the white pawn. Now I think JVS is going to win this game. He's going to take this queen once this king moves away, and he's also going to check the king and attack the knight. So which I think he will also see. And at that point black is down to just a knight and a rook and a couple of pawns. You can actually choose. He's still attacking this one, which black protects. Now if he would bring in the queen somehow, for example the this square, or maybe along the e-file, things could be over pretty quickly. I also wouldn't mind just bringing this knight out and getting all of white's pieces involved in this game. So far this knight and rook in the corner have been doing nothing, and I always like to use all of my pieces. There he goes. Impressive move. Now maybe he moves the knight in for check. Maybe he'll take the knight. Maybe he'll check. All of these moves are pretty good. At this point white doesn't really have to win any more points. He's up so much material that winning one more point or 3 more points really doesn't matter much for the evaluation of the position. What he should try to do is use all the extra pieces he has, or the extra points, to work together against the black king. Okay, I think he's probably trying to get this rook involved, which is not a bad idea. He could have used the queen, but using the rook to do this is not bad either. He is sort of using all of his pieces now. This queen could get involved in many different ways as well. As long as it gets close to the black king is getting into bigger trouble. Okay, not a bad move, f4. I think he's just trying to open the f-file, so his queen can attack along the f-file. That's not really, black can play maybe pawn to g4. But it's not really going to make that much of a difference anymore, because white is just up way too many pieces in this position. Attacking the knight. And the knight withdraws. How many more moves is the black king going to survive? Not that many is my guess. Attacking the rook. At some point when you're up that many pieces, sometimes it gets hard to make all the pieces, all those extra pieces you have, work together. So right now none of white's pieces are really working together yet, and they can do things on their own, but if you really want to checkmate an enemy king, usually you have to use at least 2 of your pieces to work together against them. And this might be the time when white starts doing it. He's checking the king. Now if he, for example, takes this pawn, he starts working together with his queen and rook, and he is also working together with his queen and rook. Now they're protecting each other, and they're closing in on the black king. The black king still has 2 squares. He goes to that one. Now he brings in a 3rd piece. The king has still a few safe squares left, but he is going to run out of those safe squares. Alright, what is his plan with this move? Does he want to play rook e6 mate? Maybe. Would be it. Oh, not bad. He's using the knight. The king has 1 square left. You'll have to go there, and then white can try to use any of his other pieces. The black king still is running. You can try to use this. The queen comes in. Alright, there's still 2 safe squares. He finds this one. Check again. Let's see how long. Rook again. Is it? It's not made yet. The king can still run in the middle of the board, not the place where usually a king gets checkmated, but there's so many pieces assailing the black king Okay, one thing white should not do is keep repeating these moves. He does not. Very good. Otherwise, the game might end in a tie. He's really working hard trying to get these pieces to rook together against the black king. Right, he lost the bishop, not a big deal. Still has so many pieces left. Let's see, some trouble finding the mate. But still 4 minutes. Should be enough. Davian's task is pretty easy. He just has to get out of check every move. Now if I were him, I would try to give away this last pawn he has. So he has a chance for a stalemate, which is almost the same as a checkmate, where you cannot make any moves anymore, but you're not in check. And when that happens, the game is a tie or a draw. And black would of course be very happy to not lose this game and get a tie. Here, while he's moving in, he needs to get this pawn up, so at least he has a chance for that. There he goes. Now there's stalemating alert. There's moves white can play that end the game in a tie. For example, queen to e1 would end the game. This does not, because I still see two squares for the black king. Doesn't really matter which one he picks. And what is almost stalemate, but black still has a move. He can take the pawn. And now he has to be very careful. There's numerous stalemates for white. There's also checkmates, not in one turn. Not yet. Okay, now the black pawn can move again, so alright, the king has to move back and then he has to find a check, otherwise the game will end in a tie. Right, there we go. There's this check, there's this check, and there is a stalemate. I was afraid of that. Javius played a great game, but Davian just hung in there and he got away. Let's see if there's any other games still going. I believe there are. There's 2 of them. Let's take a quick peek at the standings. After the first round, Jason, David, and Michael all have 1 point, which means they won their first game. Draws by Avani, Javius, and Ngozi. And 2 people have lost. Jadiel and Jazain. Let's see, in this game we have Michael playing with white against Avani playing with black. I don't know who Avani is. He has not been in chess class of mine yet, so he's probably pretty new to this. And his first impressions is pretty good. Michael has put at least 1 pawn in the middle. He developed his knights towards the middle. He castled his king, so it can tuck away safely behind these 3 pawns right in front of it. And black has done sort of similar things, except he has not castled his king yet. The castling move is the only move in the game of chess where you can move 2 pieces of your own at the same time. Basically, if there's no space in between a king and a rook, they have not moved yet, and the king is not in check or moving through a square where it would be in check, then the king has an option to castle with that rook, which is what white has done. White has castled his king, moving 2 squares, and the rook flipped over, but black has not yet. Now black could do it on this turn. He could move 2 squares towards the rook on a8, and the rook would flip to the other side. But this king really likes to have pawns right in front of it. So when the king would do that, he would have no pawns in front of it or right in front of it, so he actually should try to castle to the king side, which is the right side of the board. I really like his last move. He developed his bishop and attacked white's bishop, and white now needs to defend. He could trade bishops, 3 for 3, equal trade. He could move his bishop back, so it's protected. He could move his queen up and protect it. He could jump in with his knight and block the attack. There's a lot of good moves for white in this position. One thing he should not do is give this bishop up for free. That would be bad news. So far actually I really like David's game. He's playing with white. I think maybe it was Michael before. It's David. But I also like Avani's game. The position is very balanced. They have the same material, and David just played a good move. He's protecting the bishop with his rook. Now black could take, but he doesn't have to. If I would be black, I would probably develop my knight to this square, so that after that I could castle my castle the king side. With white, this position sort of is begging for a move like rook e1. So this rook moves to the file of the black king. There's still a pawn, but after rook e1, you're actually threatening to take this pawn on d5, because this pawn on e6 would be pinned by the rook to the king. Other good moves, I think moving the knight to e5 could be interesting, although I'm not sure it's going to do so much right now. So I would probably go rook e1. With black I would probably go knight f6. Let's see if there's any other games going. And we'll come back to this one. Jay Sean against Ningazi. Couple moves in the game. e4, e5, good moves. And the bishop moved out to b5. Got attacked by the pawn and moved all the way back. Now, it's pretty good not to lose a bishop. I'm not sure if I would move it all the way back, because now this king cannot castle with his rook anymore. He developed his knight, but both these pawns could be taken now, so I'm not sure what is going to happen. Yeah, both are taking knights, using the knights to take pawns. Move I would like to play is getting the queen to this file with the king. Whenever there's no more pawns in front of a king and there's queens or rooks on the board, you have to be very careful, because your king could get attacked from all the way from the other side of the board by a rook or queen. Not a bad move, attacking the knight. The knight moves away to a safer spot. Now I would be very tempted by moving this queen to this file with the king. He develops a knight, not a bad idea either, and white moves this pawn up. Now this is a good idea, but when you move this pawn up, you lose protection along this diagonal, and black could actually move his queen out to check the king. That would create a very dangerous situation for white, one where he could get checkmated if white makes a mistake. Let's see what Ningazi will play. The other option is to just move the knight away to a safe square, or to counterattack and attack white's knight. Not a bad idea. If white takes with the pawn, then black can take white's knight. So that would actually be an even trade. I'm still a little bit worried about this diagonal, where if the black queen lands there, bad things could happen. And they could still happen. So white decided to move the knight away. Okay. And black plays a move that is very interesting, although he does leave this knight hanging. If he finds queen h4 check, things could get very interesting for the white king. Well, for black. Not so much for the white king. The white king would find things slightly uncomfortable. Let's see, I want to see the next move, just to see if the white king will get attacked. Okay, pawn to g5. Unfortunately, that pawn is not going to scare the white king. Now the black queen can no longer check, so the white king should be pretty safe for now. Uh-oh, checkmate alert. The knight and queen are lining up and working together in harmony on this pawn on f7, which has only one protector, the king, but that's not enough. And if white finds his move, it's checkmate. Let's see. Will he find that move? He did find that he could take it, but he took it with the knight instead of the queen. So the black king survives another day. The black queen, however, should be moving away now. Otherwise the knight could take it. I mean, he could also attack the white queen, but okay. Queen d7 saves the queen and is attacking the knight. Things are still a little dangerous for the black king, but if black can find a move like queen takes knight, then white's attackers get removed and black should be in very good shape. g4, not a bad move, attacking the queen. White only has a queen and a knight in the game, while this pawn maybe as well is a little dangerous, but black has a lot of pieces helping out, which should mean that the black king should be safe now. And if black manages to chase or eliminate one of those attackers, then he should be in good shape for a while to come. He took the pawn, that's one. And if he gets another chance, maybe he can take the knight. Well, there it is. The chance is there. In the meantime, white is threatening to move this bishop to the square and pin the queen to the king. Not sure if he spotted the move when he played knight c3, but it's certainly there, and it's certainly black should defend against. He can defend against it. One thing he can do is take the knight with his queen, because the king is also attacking it. So if queen takes knight, queen takes queen, king takes queen, white would lose the knight, and the black king should be very safe. Black is taking his time, which is pretty good. But it's also that there's so many things, so many moves that he could play. When I play chess, I always try to, there's different ways of playing chess or thinking about games in general. One is to just play for an attack and try to go after the enemy king or the enemy pieces all the time. That's not usually the way I play. Usually I just try to prevent my opponent from attacking my king or going after my pieces before I try to go after theirs. Now if they give him to me, I'll take him, but I always try to play it safe first and attack from a position of safety before I go after my opponent's king. So in this position, neither king is very safe, and that means there's a lot of checks, a lot of pieces can get attacked, taken, and that makes the position very complicated. For example, the knight is attacking this pawn, the queen is attacking the knight, the white queen can get attacked in all kinds of ways. The white king could get attacked in numerous ways. So I think I like black for that reason. But you still have to be very careful. A knight next to your king is usually a dangerous situation, and it should not be tolerated too long. Or now another knight moves in, attacks the queen. Black has to, well, I was about to say black has to find some good moves soon, and he unfortunately found a bad one, because now the white knight took the queen, which means that these pieces are getting more dangerous to the king now. And it's not helping that these knights are surviving that long. White took a rook that's protected, but will black see it? It's not an easy move to see. Such a backward captured move are typically not things that are easy to spot. And black did not spot it. Well, now it becomes just a race of Pac-Man, one that black seems to be doing very well at. I'm going to move. Black did find the backward capture. Very good. I'm going to switch games. Let's see. Javius is playing white against Chris. Javius has been at it for several weeks. He won one of those tournaments. So you could say in this field he is fairly experienced. As a chess player on the whole, he's not very experienced yet, but he's now playing a lot. I believe he has attended every single class. There's 4 of them every week. And that usually means you're going to get good pretty quickly. Chris has just started. He told me he has played for a little while, but is still waiting for his first victory in the chess game. And I think he's probably going to follow Javius's path and attend a lot of classes, and it is just a matter of time before he wins a game. This one is going to be hard because Javius is very experienced, and that shows in his moves as well. So far, the position is what we call a closed position. Closed position is when all the pawns are on the board and there are no open files for the rooks, for example. These rooks, they like to have a clear shot to the other side of the board, but they're being blocked by pawns. So for white it would be very important to try to get rid of some pawns so these rooks could become dangerous. One thing I would like is to somehow move this knight and get this pawn to c4. Ferrari action is on the king side. It's not that much going on there yet. Everything is protected. The bishop is protected. This bishop is protected. It's a pretty close game. I do notice Chris is using a bit more time now than in his last game. Alright, last move by white is very dangerous for black, because if he doesn't respond well, bad things could happen. He did respond pretty well because he took this pawn and the queen is backing up the bishop, checking the king, and the king should move away. He does. And now black should take this pawn one way or another, or maybe take the knight. If he doesn't respond well, then white's pieces get very aggressive very quickly. e5 is a pretty nice move, attacking the rook, and the rook has to move, and he does. Well, I'm a little surprised because Chris's first game was certainly seemed like a bit nervous, like playing quickly and losing a lot of pieces early on. But so far he is playing much slower and taking things he can when his opponent lets him. Now he moves his pawn up and protects the bishop. That's pretty good as well. So I think Javius has his work cut out for him. Moving the queen back. Okay. I don't really like this bishop or this bishop. They're not doing so much. So maybe drop this bishop back. On the other hand, Black's knight has a hard time getting into the game as well. He cannot go to this f6 square because of the pawn. Maybe he should think about knight h6. Okay, he went and took this pawn, but the pawn is protected, so I think there might have been a bit of a mouse slip perhaps, because white put a queen on a square where a pawn could take it. That is a queen's worst nightmare. 1 point taking 9 points. This could spell some trouble for Javius in this game. And if somehow this queen could get closer to the white king, like for example on f2, it would be checkmate. Okay, rook check, not bad. Couple of ways to defend. You can move the king, you can block with the bishop, numerous ways. Black should be in pretty good shape. Okay, he's trying to go after the rook, but the bishop is under attack. Not a bad move. Actually, it's probably the best move. Getting this bishop into a more active spot, attacking the white king. The white king has to run away. The move I would really like is pushing this pawn to e2 and attack the rook. A move I also like is checking the king again. I still like this pawn move. What else would I like? I would like this queen to get closer to the white king. That's another thing. Well, e2. Attacking the rook, threatening to promote the queen, turn it into a promote the pawn, turn it into a queen while taking a rook, and he can still do it. He can take this and promote it to a knight even. Alright, he missed that. His move is, pretty okay. He's moving his rook away from the attack of the bishop. I think it was really necessary, but aha, that's the idea. Okay. Let's see. Very interesting to see if Black will manage to use his advantage over the extra queen. And he played a very good move. Only one square left for the white king. If you promote, it will be made in two. Promote his pawn to a bishop. Check. The rook can take, and the other bishop takes back, and we have a checkmate. There's some other good moves as well. Actually, many other good moves. This one, the idea is pretty good, but now he has to be a little bit careful because the pawn took it. Maybe this king can escape through this square, or the pawn can try to run across, get a queen back. Okay, I think Chris definitely spotted that this pawn is almost getting across to become a queen, and maybe he's trying to get this queen back like that. I don't think it was necessary, but I understand that he wanted to play it safe like this. The big problem still in the position is this white king. If Black manages to find a way to go after that king, well, hey, there's still a bishop protecting us. I thought maybe for a second black was almost losing a queen. But he's using his queen to go after this pawn. I mean, it's quite impressive because black is actually thinking ahead several moves, planning a way to stop this pawn, which he did. And now the queen is coming from the other side and the white king is again in big trouble. He has to run away. In the meantime, we're still not sure if Chris has ever promoted a pawn in his life. In which case it might not so easy to see how nice that is. Either promoting here, protecting by the bishop, or taking the rook. There's also all kinds of other good moves. This is the only game currently going on, so we'll stay with this one. And I see finally some action might be happening on this square. I think I would have preferred to put my bishop there to check. Alright, white is now starting his own attack. Uh-oh, this is checkmate, except the queen can be taken, and suddenly the game turns around. He better find this promotion move to get another queen on the board. The white king now, if he runs here, ooh, this is very dangerous. This king has no squares left. If he manages to find almost mate. Black almost checkmated white, but he put his pieces on squares where they could be taken still. So he sees the checkmating ideas so close, but then white still had a way out. Alright, critical. He gets another queen. Game on. Now white starts a counterattack with his two bishops and rook. The king has only one square. And then white could try another check and the king would have to run up the board. Well, actually, maybe he can hide in the corner. But either way, this game got a lot more interesting now. And white is trying to get his king out of the danger zone, but he can't. Okay, he should take the bishop. And now black should try to give a lot of checks with his queen. Uh-oh, and do it very quickly. 26 seconds against a minute 15. I'm afraid for Chris's time, and unless they now repeat the same position 3 times, this game will probably end in a win for white. But it was a very, very close game. JV is trying to get away from the checks. It's not so easy. He's got only 2 pawns helping him against this black queen. But 3 seconds, he's not going to make it. Alright, he got very close to winning this game. Chris did. It's his first game, I think, if he hasn't won since yesterday. But JV has got away. And we have some other games going. Let's take a quick look at the standings. Jay Sean won 2 games. David Brown won 2 games. And Michael Johnson won 2 games. So they're off to a quick start. Javius just won his game, so he is right behind him with a point and a half. And who do we have playing here? Chess Club Junior, Jadiel with white against Davian, and there's another game, and this is Jay Sean with black against David with white. We'll follow this game. They both started out with 2 wins, so this game is very important. This is their 3rd game. Whoever wins this game definitely qualifies to the semi-final. The loser might still have a chance to get to the semi-final, depending on the other results. If they tie the game, they both should have a very good chance of making to the semi-final. It's sort of a funny start. Both are using the bishop and knight to attack the weakest spots in the position when you start a game of chess, which is f2 and f7. White manages to fend off the attack, but black just lost his queen. So David is off to a good start, and Jason is trying to fight back. I've seen David play before, and I'm afraid for Jason's chances in this game now. He starts bringing the queen to the open e-file, attack the king. I would think, yep, he takes the pawn. If white manages to get these other pieces in the game quickly, the black king should be in trouble. For now, don't lose your queen. The queen is lining up with the king, which creates a very dangerous situation, because wherever this bishop moves next would be check. So the bishop could even take a pawn that's protected, because the king would be in check. Jason defends well. He blocks the file, so the king is safe. David moves and attacks the rook. The rook should move away, maybe to this square. And this bishop is now under attack. So he should move away. Maybe you can protect him, but I don't really like that bishop being attacked on that square. Just okay, he moves the bishop and attacks the pawn, not bad. Still, white has an extra queen for a rook, but just the queen and the bishop are probably not going to checkmate the black king. He really needs his other pieces to join the game if he wants to checkmate, unless can he try to get his way in on the 8th rank and do it like that? He might be. There are some chances there. He might be doing it now. Yep, there he goes. Lining up the queen and the bishop with the black king again. And black should probably block the king on the 8th rank now. Maybe he can use a knight. Well, he finds a very good move. He blocks this rank so that the black queen cannot give a check, and actually sort of turns the tables a little bit, because now this rook is pinning the bishop, and white played the best move. He took this pawn, but the king should be okay for now, I guess. This pawn is protected by the knight. He's also developed his bishop, which is pretty good. Alright, so now the knight is no longer protecting this pawn, so he should take it. He is looking to get his knight into the attack on a white king, so the idea is very good, but he did let down his guard. I would try to just run that king towards the corner. Maybe you can do this too, but I'm a little bit afraid now. Maybe the queen can come back here. Maybe the queen can come here. All double attacks. He could do that as well. That's okay. Black and block, black and run. Running is what he did. Now I would really like this d3 move. This d3 move protects the square and opens the diagonal to get his bishop involved. He uses the same idea, except now black still can move his knight and check. Alright, he did something else which is pretty okay as well, because this knight is protecting this square, so the white bishop cannot just come in and attack the black king. Well, he could try, but the knight could still take it. So probably David is looking for a way to get that bishop involved anyway. Okay, he does. He moved his bishop all the way to h6. Not bad. I would still like to get this knight and the rook involved. Let's see if he can find a way to get this rook to this e-file and bother this knight. And if the knight moves away, he can again use his bishop. It's a fairly complicated plan. Like 2-3 moves, but he might be doing it. Alright, I really like this plan actually by Jason. He moved his pawn up so he can get his rook involved into defense on the 6th rank. That's pretty good thinking. Now, it's not mate. David thought he had him, but he does not. This could be a game changer. Jason is lucky in the sense that it's the only move he could play. So he was going to find it no matter what. Okay, now David is probably pretty upset that he just dropped the queen, and he has to refine himself a little bit and try to not make more mistakes. It's very typical for a chess player, but also for just any human being, to do well right after you did something really bad and you know it. You're not really thinking many positive thoughts, and when you're not thinking many positive thoughts and you're thinking negative thoughts, typically you're going to find bad things to do if you don't take a little bit of time to try to recover from that. So David should probably slow down a little bit to get used to the new situation, namely one where he was doing great up a queen, and now suddenly he lost his queen and he's about to lose another piece, a bishop. So he finds the check, but when the king just moves away, then the bishops are all lined up and he will lose a bishop no matter what he does. So it's still actually key for David to try to just, like if I'm white, I would probably not move for another minute, just trying to collect myself and realize, okay, something bad happened. I have to slow down to see if I can still salvage this and play the best moves from here on out and not compound mistake on mistake. He did find a pretty good move because he attacks this other rook and now he's attacking this rook, so black will be losing one of his rooks. He should lose it for the white bishop. White should take this rook now, and then the game is actually still very close. Okay, he didn't take the rook, which gives black a chance to get this rook out of the attack and maybe start working together with the other rook to go after the king. Black attacks the pawn. That would be the second best option, because these pawns, and actually David's move sort of show that, he moved his rook behind this pawn, and one of his ideas is try to get this pawn to move up the board. Discovered attack alert. The pawn moved up, and David did defend against it. He blocked the diagonal of this bishop. That was well spotted by both players. This game has been quite impressive actually. I mean, they made a few mistakes. They both lost their queen, but the defensive and attacking ideas they're using are actually quite good, and they're seeing a lot. So what should David be doing? Well, okay, he doesn't really want to take this rook. I know he sees he can take it, but I think he figures, well, this bishop is doing more than this rook, so maybe I should just not give up my bishop for that rook, which I think is actually a pretty good idea. So what did he do? He moved his rook away from this diagonal. Now he's backing up this pawn with his rook and he's looking to push that to the other side. It's a very dangerous idea, and black should get ready to protect his d8 square so the pawn cannot just become a queen there for free. For now it's check, and white should probably move the king. I'm afraid that might run into bishop f3 check. He missed it, and he should move king f2. Now black has a chance to get this rook into the attack as well, but the king can still run to a fairly safe square. When all these attacks on the white king go away, then this pawn is ready to move. Okay, Jay-Sean thought, I don't see any more way to attack, so let me stop this pawn. He could check as well first, but really this rook, well, he could play rook d8, or that move is not going to help. Might have been a mouse slip. He might have intended to move the rook to f8 to check, but instead moved it to g8 where it could be taken. And now black is in big trouble. He has to bring the rook back so that when white gets a queen he can sacrifice the rook. But I don't think David is going to give this away anymore. Black has almost no pieces left. So he put up a very good fight when he lost his queen, using all of his pieces. And then this one mouse slip, dropping this rook, is the one that's going to cost him. I cannot see David giving this away anymore. With black, the best chance is just to actually maybe give up his last two pieces so that he might still have a chance for a stalemate. If he doesn't give up those pieces, then white will eventually get a queen with one of his pawns, and the black king is probably going to get checkmated. Well, okay, maybe there's one more chance. He's trying to take this pawn, so he gets his own passed pawn. A passed pawn is a pawn that will never ever meet an enemy pawn again. Either white in front of it or on a diagonal, so it could get taken. So for example, this black pawn now is passed because no white pawn will ever stop it. And these white pawns are also passed because no black pawn will ever stop those pawns. When a pawn is passed, it wants to start moving to try to promote to a queen, which is what both players are doing now. The problem for black is that white can easily stop this pawn. For example, he could even give up a whole rook or a bishop for it. And the black bishop is never going to be able to stop all of these pawns. For example, a good move would be to just check, the king moves, and then just take that pawn off the board. It would be a very safe way to eliminate black's chances with that pawn. Pawn to a3. I'm not sure. I don't think I quite understand that. Aha, he just wanted to wait for this pawn to move up, because he noticed that once he does, the white rook is going to win it. Okay, white was setting a little bit of a trap. He said, let me just make this move that doesn't seem to do anything, and let's see if black wants to push that pawn again, because now he is going to lose it. Yeah, okay, so this was actually a very clever idea by David. White now has no more risk of losing this game, or almost no risk. He should not run out of time. Black should maybe keep the bishop alive for a little while, but once white gets a queen, then black should try to get rid of that bishop. 1 minute 57, and that's white's only problem, and that's time. He could take the bishop, but I don't think he needs to do that. He play bishop here. Yep, that's what he does, and is going to trade black's last piece. Black should. Well, it doesn't really matter what black does. Black doesn't have to take. Maybe he shouldn't even take. Because if he takes, white will take back, and with just a rook, and then soon in 4 moves you'll have a queen. Black's task of checkmating is getting much easier, and to the point where I think David knows how to finish a game like that. So I'm expecting David to win this. Let's take a quick look at the standings. I see JV has won his third game as well, and he's in 2.5 points, so he should qualify for the semi-final. I'm expecting David to join him. Then it's going to be a close call for those behind them. Okay, so David, I expect, is going to win this game. Let's see, Michael. Is Michael still playing his game? He is. He's playing against Avani. Michael has 2 wins. Avani has 1 draw and a loss. If Michael wins this game, he will also qualify to the semi-finals. Probably a draw is enough as well. Maybe a loss even. But he's looking pretty good. He's up 2 rooks and a pawn, and I don't really see much chance for Avani to not lose. In fact, he's down to 16 seconds against Michael's 4 minutes. So I would say the odds of Michael winning this are more than 99%. He's definitely going to win this game in about 8 seconds, 7 seconds, 6 seconds, 5. Oh, 1 more move, and then it will be over, and we'll go back to David's game. Oh, this is getting interesting. He's got, oh no, it's not interesting. He's got a mate in 1, which I think he should find. He can also queen and then mate in 1, but that's what he's probably going to do. The king moves up. Now there's various mate in 1s. And he found one I hadn't seen. Oh no, it's not mate in 1. King can still move. Okay, mate in 1 now. Let's see. Will he mate in? Stalemate. Okay, he will still qualify. Jason should be very happy with that, because I think that means he will also qualify. So yeah, that's one of the problems when you're up a lot of pieces and your opponent has nothing but the king. The chances of creating a stalemate go up by a lot, and I think this is the second stalemate we've seen. It's very typical, and as you get better, you will start doing that less and less. In this case, it doesn't really matter so much for David, because a win or a draw would give him qualification for the semi-final anyway. For Jason, this might be very important. Now look at the standings. I see Michael has won all his games, so he qualified for the semi-final with 2.5 points. I see Jason, Javius, and David, and those 4 players will be playing in the semi-final. I think I'm going to take a quick break and find out when the semi-final is going to start, and then we'll be back to look at those games. So far it's been a very interesting day. 8 players. 4 players are clearly moving away from the rest of the field, and they will now have to battle it out for tournament victory. I will see you in a bit. Welcome back to the semi-final of the chess tournament for Hartford Public High School students. In this game we have David playing white against Jason, which I believe is a repeat of the last game. And in the other game, let's see if they're already playing. We have Javius playing with black against Michael. The winner of each game will qualify to the final. Well, we'll start with this game. Michael has already castled, which is pretty good. He's also developed his pieces. His bishop, the two knights. He's put 2 pawns in the center already. One got traded. White's play so far could just that be of a grandmaster. Very good development. Black's play is not bad either, although it's not as solid as white, but I like it so far. Black has maybe castled or maybe moved his king up and then moved his rook over. I'm not sure how that happened. No, he castled and then moved his king and rook over. He wanted to get out of the spin of the knight, so actually that was a pretty good idea. So black's play is not as active. White has gone up to the 4th rank. He's attacking a lot of squares on black's side. This bishop has a nice diagonal. He should not take that knight because this bishop is very dangerous to the black king. The black king is sort of not so happy, and actually now the black king's life probably gets easier because he'll just take back and he can drop back to maybe even the corner to hide behind his shield. Like if white's queen comes in with check, the black king should retreat to this square. I mean, it is a little bit dangerous if, for example, now black's only good move was to bring this king back to this square to protect the pawn, because now the queen can come in and now all bets are off. In fact, it's mate in 2. If white finds bishop h6 check, which I believe he will, seeing what Michael has done before in this tournament, this game would be over very quickly. It's checkmate in 1 turn, and he finds it. Alright, very impressive game by Michael. We'll take a quick look from the beginning. Actually, we'll do that while we wait for the final. We'll go to this one because a lot is happening already. So, David's queen is gone. That's the first thing I noticed. And black still has a queen. And I also noticed black has an extra bishop and knight and pawn. So, David is in great trouble. The previous game, David was beating Sean and then stalemated him. But in this game, it looks like Jay Sean is turning the tables quite drastically. This rook is attacking the queen, so I'm not sure. Well, there it goes. The bishop should take back. Still, black is in great shape. He has an extra rook, an extra bishop, an extra knight, and an extra pawn. Also, black has a lot of time, almost 8 minutes. So David will need a lot more than that to come back. And actually, black now attacks the bishop. If the bishop is not careful, there might be a back rank checkmate incoming. So he probably has to move the bishop back, so the bishop defends this back rank on d1, so the black rook cannot get in. He does it another way, but now the bishop is pinned, and black could, for example, move this pawn up to attack the pinned bishop, and white is going to lose some stuff there, either the bishop or the rook. Black could still try to use that. Actually, he does. He's now using his bishop to attack the pinned piece, and once that bishop moves, the rook opens up and he's going to take it. Alright, very well played by black. Now, if he gets his bishop back, he could use the bishop and rook to attack this f-pawn. Okay, he moves his pawn, which will be taking. Now he has to be a little bit careful that this white bishop... Aha! This is the idea. He wants a checkmate. He just took away this escape square, and he wants to bring the rook down and checkmate, so David has to defend. Maybe move the pawn up so the king can move up, maybe move the king out, but he has to defend, and he does. He did find the trick, and the king moves up, and now black has to defend. Because if this bishop takes the pawn, he will also take this rook, which is what's going to happen now. The good thing for black is he will get rid of this c-pawn, which is fairly close to the other side of the board. So that's the only upside. David is probably thinking, well, I can take this, but he's not so happy that he's going to lose this pawn, because once he loses this pawn, he will have to try to use one of these other pawns, and you see, they don't have an easy way in because black still has two pawns and a king, so he was hoping this pawn could somehow become a queen. I think the pawn is going to go away very quickly now, and Jason is now getting very close to winning this game. Although this move I'm not so sure about. I would be afraid of this pawn keeping on going. White will still have a chance as long as this white c-pawn is alive. 2 moves away from promotion, 1 move away from promotion. Black should probably, yes, well, he plays a very safe move. He blocks the pawn, and he should not touch that rook for a little while. He can try to use these 3 pieces to go after the king, but working together with bishop, knight, and a rook to checkmate the king is not so easy. Where you have to have 3 pieces go hand in hand and cover a lot of squares is just not very straightforward. It is possible, so maybe he'll do it. But I think it would be easier to, for example, just take this pawn, give up a rook for bishop, and maybe also try to get this pawn to the other side. Right, he does the first thing, which I think is a very good idea. Now he should just take back. At that point, white is down to 2 pawns, and they shouldn't really be able to pose a threat to black. Black is blocking. You can also just take it. You can also go after this pawn first with a rook or with a bishop or with a pawn. I would just take it and be done with it. Because you don't really need that bishop to checkmate. In fact, the bishop and knight are sort of increasing the chances that white will escape. Because really white's only chance at this point is a stalemate and a draw. Like in the previous game where David was up queen, 2 rooks, and a pawn, and stalemated Jason. In this case, the tables have turned, and David should be trying to get a stalemate. He should actually not even try to take any of black's pieces, because all he needs to do for a stalemate is lose these 2 pawns and give black as many pieces as he can, so it's as hard as possible for black to have those pieces work together or not be hurting his other pieces trying to get to checkmate this king. So I wouldn't really take these. He does, but I think this might make Jason's job easier. Alright, this pawn can run. The rook is blocking off the b file, so this pawn has a clear shot to the other side of the board. Now the white king gets a chance to come back. Okay, so it's getting a little harder for black now. He changes his mind. He says, well, let me go behind this pawn, and now just push it. The knight doesn't really matter. He can checkmate without the knight, and the knight only makes things more difficult. So David still has a chance. 3 minutes against 5 minutes. On the clock it's going to be hard, so I'm guessing stalemate is the only chance, and he should get ready to give away his last 2 pawns. Otherwise he will never be able to get stalemated. As long as he can make a move with at least one of those pawns, stalemate is impossible. Black Black takes it for him. The odds of a stalemate just went way up. Black might take the last pawn as well, but at this point Black should just run towards the Black Knight, and that would make the chance of stalemate even bigger. He could take, well, he's trying to take, but that doesn't really matter so much. Black should try to be around this knight with his king. So, is he going to do it? That would be pretty impressive. It's not an easy strategy to follow, especially when you have almost no time, you have no pieces, you feel bad that you're going to lose this game, and you still have to try to find the best defense. And the best defense is trying to get a stalemate. White's king still has a lot of squares, but they're slowly being taken away. Okay, there go a few more. We're getting very close to some kind of a mate. Checkmate or stalemate? What is it going to be? Alright, the king has to go to the A file, and then we're one move or two moves away from checkmate or stalemate. Queen C8 would be stalemate. This is not stalemate because the rook can be taken. We're very close. That's going to be exciting. We're one or two moves away from checkmate or stalemate. I have to get a drink. And all this excitement. King C7 stalemate. Don't do it. Alright, not stalemate. But this setup with the queen on C6 is not helping Black. He should put his queen. Alright, the king should go on to the corner. Alright, King C6 stalemate. There it is. Yes, it's very, very tricky when you have all those pieces. And you have to try to avoid stalemate and have your pieces work together. Okay, David let Jay Sean escape in the previous game they played. And Jay Sean returned the favor. I'm not sure what's going to happen next. Maybe they have to play a playoff. We'll find out. I'll keep a look on the look out for the games. Let's go back to the other semi-final, which was won very quickly by Michael. I was just going to go through the game. Michael started with pawn to e4, a very good move to open up the bishop and the queen for later, and to get a pawn into the center of the board. In fact, what do I see? They have to play another game. Okay, so they drew their first game, which means they have to play another game. We'll come back to that. Actually, no, we'll just stay with this game. Why not? 10 minutes each. The previous two, they played two games against each other just now. Both ended in a stalemate. So, what's it going to be the third time around? Will it go all the way to the wire again, where one side has no pieces left and escapes with a tie, or will one of them manage to pull through? David is maybe getting a little nervous. I don't know. There's a move that's not that typical of him. He's putting his bishop there, but the bishop is attacked twice, and the knight could take it. So both players are playing a little bit fast, and both made a small mistake that White could have won this bishop. But position is pretty good. He's giving up this pawn, but he might do it on purpose. If this queen moves out, you've got a pin along the e file. White could be very tricky in castle, and if the black queen takes the knight, the rook comes back and pins the queen. Okay, it was very tricky, not so easy to see. He played the next best move, which is to unpin the knight. So the knight can now move again, because if the queens take each other, it would just be an even trade. So, nice idea by David to give away the pawn so he could pin it. Good defense by Jason to unpin the knight. Now the knight is attacked again, so he needs to defend. He can take it. He can protect it. Oh, there he goes. He takes it. Good move. Queens could get, yeah, queens are traded. So we're back again into a position like the previous two times where they will have to try to get at least one pawn across to get a new queen. Because without it, it's going to be very difficult to checkmate. It's not impossible, but queens are the best checkmating pieces. And if you don't have one, you can still try to get a new one by getting one or more pawns across to the other side. The last move by Jason was unfortunate. He moved his knight to attack this pawn here, but the bishop could take it. So white is now down a piece, but he still has a pawn for it. Uh-oh, I'm not liking the situation here. This king will have to step into the diagonal of the bishop or the file of the rook. Both are very dangerous because it means the knight on the next turn, the knight can move anywhere at once, and it will, well, okay, move to d3 route will be taken, but if it moves to c4 or g4, the white king cannot take it, and the white king has to move out of check. Maybe I don't even, maybe I play a move like c5 to take away this square. That would be interesting. Maybe f5. Maybe knight g4. Actually, this move I like. It's a very tricky move. It's check with the rook, attacking the pawn. So if knight moves and the king protects, actually this knight can come down to h2 and check from this direction, protected by the bishop. Oh, it's getting a little tricky now with all those arrows. But this would be a stunning, if he finds this. Alright, I'm not going to eat my hat. I don't have a hat, but I'm also not going to eat it. But I would be very impressed if he finds knight g4 with the idea knight h2. That would be pretty sick. Let's see. He's thinking about what to do with it. And it's not that easy to see if there's anything to do with it. If you can't really do anything with it, you should try to keep it. Alright, he decided to move this knight back. He might be looking to get in like this and attack this pawn. Also, if the king moves back, it's almost mate. Alright, he moves to this square, which might... Well, hold on. I see a bishop skewer. Okay, missed by David. He did see something else pretty good, namely going after this f-pawn. If the f-pawn moves, the g-pawn. But this bishop e5 move is still in the position. And it would still be very good. Alright, this is the second best thing, namely taking this pawn with check. And the king should move to c3, attacking the rook, protecting. Probably going to take the f-pawn. That would not be bad. I mean, he has a couple other moves, but he could check still. Alright, this is the best move. He takes the pawn. Threatening bishop takes e5 check. Skewering the king to the bishop, and then after that even attacking the rook. Okay, he sort of defends because he could take it with the rook, but he would still lose the rook for bishop, so black should do it and white should take. If he moves the king, he will lose 3 points. If he takes the bishop, he will lose 2 points. So taking with the rook is better than moving the king, but it's a choice of 2 bad things, so that's not always easy when the only things you can do are things that will make your position worse. It's not very pleasant. And, well, he chose that option. He chose the worst of the 2 options, but it was not easy. Black should just take, or maybe rook check. Well, you could check with the rook, or maybe knight check. This white king, even though the black queen is gone, all these pieces are swarming the white king. And if all 4 of them work together, it's 16 points. 2 rooks is 5 plus 5 plus 3 plus 3. 16 points ganging up on this king. And 16 points against a king is bad news for the king, even though there's not a queen involved. But having all those pieces work together is not so easy. That's the advantage of a queen. It's just one piece, and then maybe you usually need one other piece. And with the two of them, it's a little easier. If you have four pieces that have to all sort of come to the same page and talk to each other in the, as you say, or um, make sure that they all have the same plan. That's not so easy. We might still see it because I think this king's chances of getting mated are quite high when it's in the middle of the board with all those pieces alive. Black should be a little bit careful. But for now I don't see too much of an issue. I don't see much danger for black yet. Good move. I think the white king, I don't know, it's tough. You should definitely not block. So he goes to the edge of the board. But this is a little tricky because now the bishop could retreat and then open up that square for the black rook. This is what he might be doing. He's attacking the rook, but he's also opening up the square for the black rook to come in. And that white king, even though it's a little closer to his pieces, because there's no rank below the first one, that takes away a lot of squares for the white king. So now there's only 5 squares he can try to run to, and the 6th one is where the one he's on. If he's in the middle of the board, he actually has 9 squares. But then again, in the middle, he doesn't have almost any help. I think black should just take this rook now, and then try to get rid of the other rook, either by trade or by taking it, and then aim to get a pawn to the other side. Again, stalemate is always in the air when you up that many pieces. David is taking his time, which is usually a good thing, unless when you play online chess, lag, like where your internet connection is slow or doesn't work for a moment, that's always a chance. I've lost thousands of games in my last 30 years of playing online chess where my internet connection dropped out and I could play no more moves. Very frustrating. Okay, when you lose thousands of games like that, it becomes less frustrating, I guess. You get more used to it. Also, back in the day, the internet connections were much slower and the chance of losing it were way higher. But it can still happen, even to the best players. I think was Magnus Carlsen playing a tournament earlier this year, was it last year, where his connection dropped out? It can happen. Another thing about online chess is mouse slips. Back rank mate alert. Luckily for black, he has a knight. He might not have seen it coming, but either way, he has a defense. And, well, it's going to be hard for white to get this rook lined up with the other rook in the 8th rank to threaten mate. Also, when this rook leaves the 1st rank, it allows the other rook, the black rook, to come to the 1st rank. So, I still don't really see that much of a danger to the black king. Stalemate and time are black's biggest enemies for now. In the meantime, black is also getting ready. I think he has doubled his rooks in the 2nd rank, which is one of the best things rooks can ever get, is doubling on the 2nd rank if you're black, or if you're white, doubling on the 7th rank. Another rank that's very good for rooks is the 8th, because there's often an enemy king, or the 1st, like in this case, there's a white king. If black moves his rook to a2 to come down to a1, it's checkmate. In a sense, I don't think there's really a defense for white against this. Actually, what should he do? How to defend against this? Rook a2, rook a1 is just mate in 2. Do I see any defense? Well, there's a defense, but you can take it or check and it's mate. Come down, clean up, and it's game over. So I think Jason did see the trouble and tried to find a way, but he couldn't find it. And David is now 2 moves away from the final, and he will find it. The rook will take, the white rook can come down, and it will be checkmate. This was a very exciting 3 games between the 2 of them. It was a tough fight, 2 stalemates, and then finally David came through with a checkmate, which means that in the final we'll have Michael playing against David. Michael seemed to have been sort of cruising to the final, but David is a formidable opponent, so it's going to be very exciting to see who wins that game. I'm not sure how long we have until they're going to play. Let me try to find out. And as the tournament director, at what time is the final? And then we'll see how much time we have to take a quick look at the other semi-final. That game didn't take that long between Michael and Javius. Let's pull it up. Anyways, we've tried twice to go through this game now, but then other action on another board was more pressing. So let's see how far we get this time. So this is the other semi-final between Michael with white and Javius with black. Michael started with pawn to e4, a good move, and Javius responded with a symmetrical move, as you say. Also his king's pawn, and also a good move. Michael developed his knight towards the middle of the board. That's very good, and he's attacking this pawn on e5, which Javius defended with his pawn on f6. So he did find a good defense. The problem with moving your f-pawn could be that you open up this diagonal for a check later in the game. For example, the queen might be able to get there sometime, so it's a little risky for this king, so you have to be careful moving your f-pawn. If I would be black, I would play either knight c6, that's the most common move, d6 is possible, but f6 defends the pawn, so I think for where these players are, f6 is a pretty good move as well, but you have to be careful. Actually, isn't there a trick here? Yes, there is a dangerous trick. You can sack a piece, the pawn takes back, the queen comes in with check, you block, and the queen takes the pawn and creates a double attack queen, king, rook. It's a famous opening trap. I think it's actually a very good move for white. Alright, let's move on. He played, I would say, the second best move. He moved his other pawn into the center of the board, attacks this e-pawn again, and in the meantime also opens the diagonal for the other bishop. Black takes, white takes back, puts the knight in the middle of the board, very good. And black develops the bishop, attacks the knight, also very good. And I see the final is going, so let's take a look. They just started. Briefly, Michael white, David black, pawn to e4, and black played the Caro-Kann opening, which is 1 c6 d5. It's a good opening. White takes, black takes back, white moves the pawn to d4, black develops the knight to attack, it's protected, white develops the knight to attack, black moves out the bishop, pins the knight, white unpins the knight by moving this bishop in between the queen and the knight, so the knight could move again. Also, if the bishop takes, you can take it back, which is what happened. And here black played a very aggressive move. I'm not sure I'm a big fan, but it's certainly interesting. If I'm black, I would play e6 and protect the pawn and try to hold these pawns like that. as a chain, because sort of when this pawn is protected, this bishop cannot really take it, and this bishop has not much action on this diagonal. But after the move e5, attacking the d pawn with 2 pieces and captures, and now black moves d4. This bishop has an open diagonal. It's not that I want to take this knight, but I like the strength of this bishop. For now, white should defend against pawn takes knight, and he does by moving the knight away. The knight also attacks the pawn. 2 attackers, 2 defenders. But if white now takes this bishop, takes knight check, black will have to take back, then he can take this pawn. This is not an easy tactic. It's removing the defender by capturing it with a check, forcing black to get out of check by taking it, and then you can take the pawn with the knight. Will he find it? I'm not sure. It's not an easy tactic. Otherwise the knight has to move, and you can move it to a3 or to d6. I would prefer d6 slightly, even though black could take it with the bishop. You take it back, black could take the pawn, but white is up this pawn, so white could just give a pawn back just to get a good position, and that's what he does. Okay, not bad, not bad. Bishop should take, pawn should take, and the queen should probably just take it as well. At which point I want white to castle and get this king out of this open e-file, so it will be safe behind these 3 pawns. Also, once you castle, this rook will come out and can try to come to the e-file and check the black king. Alright, c3 is not bad. He's putting more pressure on this pawn. Also, the pawn is pinned to the queen. I would probably get my knight out and try to get castled again. Check, not a bad move either. Actually, maybe it's the best move. Yeah, that's pretty good. If white blocks with the queen, black can trade queens, and then he can trade pawns, and he is safe. I mean, what could white do otherwise? He could block with the bishop, sure, but now he can take this pawn. He has 2 attackers. Aha, he's trying to take the bishop with the pawn, but the problem is I can take it with my queen, which white has to play if he wants to save his bishop. It's a pretty good idea, but it doesn't work to win the bishop. On the other hand, now that the queen has come out, the rook can quickly come out and attack the queen. So black is sort of taking over the attack a little bit here. He's playing very aggressive. I like his ideas, and I also like white's move. Once the queen's off the board, black's attack on the white's position will be gone. This move is really good. And black has no way to escape. The queen is pinned to the king and has no way to avoid trading queens, which is what happens. The bishop should take back. And now Michael is in pretty good shape. He has 1 extra pawn. His king is safe. And he has 6 minutes. David has also a safe king. 1 pawn less and 8 minutes. It's also a battle of 2 knights against 2 bishops. And this is a tricky battle. Usually 2 bishops are better than 2 knights. But it's not so easy to see what all these knights are doing. Like if I click on all the squares these knights are attacking now, you'll see that a lot is going on. And it's not so... knights can be very surprising attackers. They're coming out of nowhere. While bishops, it's a little easier to see what they're doing. So maybe I'm going to prefer David's position, because it's a little more difficult to play with white. Also, good last move. Double attack, pawn, bishop. Which means white is going to lose one of them. And he should choose to lose the pawn and not the bishop. But Michael is playing pretty solid so far, but David is playing aggressive and very well. He's also playing a little quicker. It's still way too soon to call any sort of... I really can't pick who's going to win this. There's a lot of play left in the position. Black should maybe take the pawn. You can also try to use this knight to attack the bishop. You can use the other knight to attack the other bishop. Okay, he takes the pawn and attacks the bishop. White should defend. Either move the bishop and attack the rook. You can move the bishop back and block the path of the rook. Both moves look pretty good. Not sure which one is best. Okay, this is pretty good. The rook is under attack, so you should move the rook to the open E file or the open D file. He did not. Okay, so white should take the rook. Black should take back. And now white is up a rook for a knight, so up 2 points, which is pretty good. But still, these knights, they're very dangerous attackers, so we probably should continue to capture the pawn, attack the bishop, and then the bishop might take the knight, recapture. Still a very close call. These two pieces that black has, they're of less value than the white rooks, but they are very aggressive. They're attacking. Black just took a pawn, he's attacking another pawn. This knight is one check away from the king. The knight is attacking the bishop. So far this whole game, Michael has been on the back foot. He's been defending. He's defending very well until now, because now this bishop can be taken for free. What just happened? Okay. Somehow I got into my own game. That's not what I wanted to do, and I have to go back to this game. Yes. Let's see what black is going to do. Well, he could take the bishop. He might not have seen it. He keeps playing aggressive. He brings in the other knight. Now, both knights are one check away. There's also a fork of two rooks in the position. So even though he could have taken the bishop, black's moves are very dangerous nevertheless. Like if white wants to defend everything, he might have to drop his bishop back to defend the c2 square. Maybe bishop e4 doesn't work, because then there's a check, and when the king moves, the knight takes the bishop. Very difficult game for Michael so far. He's really having to defend a lot, and David plays with a lot of aggression and a lot of threats against white's pieces, and you can also see that reflected in the time. David has been playing fairly quickly. He's up he's almost twice as much time, and Michael is really trying to find the best moves to defend, and that's costing him a lot of time. So far it's a very good final, and still way too early to call a winner. Well, he moved his pawn up, which is good for the king, but then the bishop is taken. The rook comes back and pins or skewers the two knights. Now, can white black it out? Yes, black could check with one of the knights, but the rook could take it. So white should probably take this knight now, and when the rook takes back, take the other knight. If he doesn't do that, black can keep his knights alive. I'm not sure. Maybe that's not so bad for white either. He moves his king to attack this knight. So now either this knight defends that knight, or this knight defends that knight. You can also use square f4. Okay, he did this one pretty good, attacking the rook. If I were with white, I would stick this rook to the 7th rank, where all the black pawns are. Even though I can't take him yet, it would be a good position to attack those pawns, and also with the rook on the 7th rank, you would make sure this king would be stuck to the back rank. Now the king will move out, And when a king gets active in an endgame, it can be as powerful as a rook. So the check is a nice idea, but the king doesn't really mind moving towards the middle of the board. He doesn't really want to be on the e-file long, because the knight is pinned. So he should probably be trying to move out here, well, or take a rook. But I assume that's not going to happen. Alright, good, very good move. He's threatening to take this knight, because this knight is pinned and cannot take back. So black really has to move king f6. Will Michael see this? He didn't. I think he might be looking at a move like this, but this might actually help David a lot. He would win some material, but it might make David's life quite a bit easier. Let's see what happens. I don't think he should take the knight, because after that he will have no rooks left, and black will have 2 extra pawns, and that might be a big problem. I'm not sure what Michael should do. It's still very difficult to play for him. It's been, the whole game has been a game of black's offense against white's defense, and white has done quite well, but black is really taking the upper hand now. This pawn is starting to move up. It's a passed pawn. Alright, so Michael decided, let's try to use my pawns to attack, which is a pretty good idea actually, because he didn't have much else left. The problem is these 2 pawns are now sort of stuck. They can't really do much anymore. And how are you going to help those pawns? I don't really see. I think Michael is down to 40 seconds. I think his only chance is to play almost instantly and just give away everything he has, hoping for stalemate. I don't see any other way out of this, because there's no really any good plans left. Okay, it's sort of what's happening now, because he decided that this is the best chance. Black will take and will try to promote his pawns. White should lose all his 3 pawns as soon as possible. They will never ever promote. With them on the board, he will never get a stalemate. Without them, he might. Okay, first thing was pretty good. He's stopping these pawns from easily queening. Now he should just hold and make sure he loses these pawns. Yep, just keep your king there. Keep your... Oh, white is trying to... Black is trying to queen, but that's not going to work. Okay. What the black king has to quickly start eating those pawns and create a passed pawn. Michael is trying to rush his king back, which is very good. Keep going. The king has to keep coming and try to stop this pawn. Keep moving. Yep, very good defense. Michael keeps moving, and David is bringing his pawns. I think the only reason David is going to win at this point might be the time. Michael is running out of time, and David knows it. He plays very quickly, 2 seconds. Just move the king back. Don't try to get fancy with your pawn. That would end the game very quickly in a tie. And he does it. Uh-oh. Take it, and we're 2 seconds. Michael has defended extremely well, and he was just 2 moves away from actually not losing this game. If he would have had time to take, and the king moves, oh, he's actually still losing. He has to move. Well, he's not losing the position, but he's losing on time. When you have a rook pawn and 2 kings, then the defending king, all he has to do is stay in the corner, and this pawn will never make it across. For example, the white king will just go back and forth, and if the pawn moves up and the king goes into the corner, there's no way for black to make any progress, because if he moves the king away, the pawn will be taken. If he moves the king here, it's stalemate. Alright, this was extremely close. In the end, Michael's defense just cost him a lot of time on the clock. He found most of the good moves to defend the position, but it just cost him more time than David's moves, and that pretty much was the difference. David stayed well ahead on the clock, played very aggressive, making Michael use his time to defend, and in the very end, it was very close to a draw, but just before they got there, Michael lost on time. So that means that David Brown has won the third tournament, Sunday tournament. He had to beat a previous winner. Michael won the first tournament. It was a very exciting final, and I'm looking forward to next week when I'm sure we'll see most, if not all, of these players back again, and they're taking a lot of chess classes each week. Thank you for joining in. I might have had an audio issue in the final. Apologies for that if I did. Otherwise, this has been an extremely impressive semi-final and final. The last game, Michael lost after a very tough defense. He managed to get back into position where he was just a few moves away from a tie, but David's aggressive play played off, aggressive and quick, and finally Michael lost on time, which means that David has won the tournament. I hope to see them back again next week for another battle, and they will also be joining a lot of chess classes this week, so they get better as we go along, and these games are going to get better and better over time. It's been a very good tournament. Congratulations to David, and we'll see you again next week. Thank you.